Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nurul Huda Husna binti Musa. My student ID is 2020604714.
My name is Nur Shukriatul Husna binti Abu Bakar. My student ID is 2020458088.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Shemmi Akilah binti Zulkifli. My student ID 2020841622.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Humaira binti Muhammad Ali and my student ID is 2020280644.
So we begin with the introduction of Tn50 plan. Transformasi National 2050, or we call it as Tn50, is a development plan for 2020 until 2050. The plan is guided a clear 30 years old goal, which was developed through a comprehensive consulting process, which is our sixth former Prime Minister, who is Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib bin Tun Abdul Razak, launched the first series of Dialog Perdana with some 500 youth leaders at Dewan Tunku Councillor, University of Malaya on 19 January 2017. It is accompanied by the Khairi Jamaluddin, or commonly known as KJ, which is our former Minister of Youth and Sports. Other than that, Tn50 is also about the transformation from traditional to new economy. As example, from resource focused to knowledge intensive, and from capitalist to profit sharing. Education is a vital force for a country growth. Our former Minister of Higher Education, who is YB Datuk Sri Idris Jusoh, once said that we aim to build a higher education system that ranks among the world's best and allows Malaysia to succeed globally. The one of the ways that have been implemented for higher education system and country's development are consist of Malaysia Education Blueprint, which is higher education system aspiration. This system is beneficial because this scheme prioritizes learners' desire. Last introduction of Tn50 policy is one of the key areas of economic development identified in the government transformation plan is education, which is aimed at forcing graduates to become a driving force in Malaysia, not only in developing countries but among the top 20 countries with economic development, social progress, and also innovation. And the last one is, this is because youth must concern about their education and for the profiling for aspiration and interest towards STEM and TVET careers among Malaysian school students. We move to the problems of Tn50 policy. So here we got three problems. Firstly, crippling education system. Secondly, kleptocracy in a flattering democracy. And the last one is the learning of the syllabus. First problem is crippling education system. This is because the deteriorating standard of public education, many parents now turn to a private or international schools to give better education for their children. Education is a great socio-economic equalizer, but we are seeing a trend that the children of the haves and the have-nots are undergoing education systems that are of totally different standards. This will further widen the gap between the rich and the poor in the future. The second problem is kleptocracy in the flattering democracy. This is because in a typical democracy, a change of government is possible in every election cycle. For example, Malaysia remains as one of a few democratic countries in the world that has not experienced a change of government. We should rebuild our democracy so to allow free and fair elections. The third problem of this policy is the learning of the syllabus. Many look loopholes in the education system, especially in the continuity of the learning syllabus, as at the lower and higher education levels. This should be done quickly and effectively in order to avoid that such as crisis results in a permanent education and economic inequality. And this is because the world needs youth who will become leaders of tomorrow, who create opportunities for themselves.
Main objective and goals of the policy. The first objective is to create a balanced education system. This means that the education system is not only focused on the academic field, but therefore to produce quality human capital not only requires excellent academic but also require the production of excellent human capital. For example, a student also need to be able to balance not only academically but also physical, spiritual, intellectual and social relationships. Next, this balanced education is needed for every student because this human capital is needed to shape the identity of the students to lead towards more excellent pupil in the future. Second goal and objective is to improve national education in a more holistic direction. This is because to ensure that education in the country change over time to meet current educational needs. In addition, to ensure teaching and learning is rational and relevant nowadays. Next, this objective is achieved for students to be able to achieve learning with more efficient methods or system to obtain a recognized and quality education system not only in the country but also abroad. The third of objective and goals is the use of technology in learning and teaching. This is because in line with the rapidly developing world of technology, alternative to developing education systems can also use digital learning methods that can expand the use of technology while in school. The use of this technology can also be carried out in tandem with the expanding 21st century learning in our nation's education system. Next, with the use of this technology, various teaching methods can be performed by educators to ensure that systematic learning can be produced.
In the creation of the National Transformation 2050 policy, there were two actors involved, which were political executive and government agencies. The political executive that involved in the National Transformation Policy was our sixth Prime Minister, Datuk Sri Haji Muhammad Najib bin Tun Haji Abdul Razak. He, that was also a member of Pekan Parliament, has announced the policy at 2017 budget presentation. After announcing the policy at the budget presentation, the Dialogue Perdana of National Transformation Policy has been launched at Dewan Tunku Kansler, University of Malaya on 19 January 2017. Next, the government agencies that involved as an actor in the creation of the policy. Firstly, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, which at that time was led by Khairi Jamaluddin Abu Bakar. The National Transformation Secretariat under the Ministry of Youth and Sport has been tasked to collect all information related to youth aspirations. In collecting the information, various programs and activities has been implemented in order to ensure all youths receive information and they can share their aspirations. Other than that, there is a special National Transformation Unit has been established. The Special National Transformation Unit involved two government agencies which were Prime Minister Department and Economic Planning Unit EPU. The special unit will make collaboration to perform the task of collecting information from all stages of society that was the target group of this policy. Among the target group of this policy are women, children, civil servants and others. After the collecting process, the Economic Planning Unit EPU will prepare a document of National Transformation Policy 2050. The last government agencies involved are Ministry of Education. Datuk Sri Mahathir Khalid, that was Minister of Education at that time, said that improvement in Malaysia Education Development Plan PPPM 2030 to 2025 will be made according to the requirements of the Tn50 policy. Three improvements that will be made are digital technology in education, increasing teaching material to global level, such as practicing high-level thinking skills (KEBAT). Lastly, comprehension of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics will also be increased in the education system.
Implementation strategy of the policy. The first is provide internet or Wi-Fi facilities for use at school. This is to streamline the national education system as required by using or expanding technological learning in addition to using textbook learning for students. Students will be able to be provided with facilities in accordance with the latest tasks or learning through this implementation strategy. For example, teachers use this digital technology in producing more modern and up-to-date learning in order to attract students to focus while in the classroom. For example, using video projection to make it easier for students to understand a chapter. Second, to enhance the human capital development of students. Students can be active in school activities where they can highlight their potential in the advantage they have. In addition, they can cultivate in themselves about human capital, which includes thinking, personality, and skills. For example, students can be active in program at school. In that way, they can hone their potentials, and in the activity, students can change themselves for the better that can make them a quality human capital.
Evaluation on the effectiveness of the policy using SWOT analysis. First elements on the SWOT analysis is strength. Strength, it is applied to achieve the objectives and the positive outcome of the education system. It is to ensure the productivity of the educators who is going to learn in a new condition using a digital technologies. National Transformation 2050, also known as Tn50, has to make sure that the educators are always ready in using a digital technologies in their teaching methods. This is to ensure that the objectives of the National Transformation in 2050 to be achieved by the year of 2050, so that the next generation could feel more comfortable in learning and they could also help with the objectives to be achieved. The second element of this SWOT analysis is weakness. It is important to know whether the objectives will be achieved or not. If the objectives could not be achieved by the year of 2050 or before that, the educators could be discouraged. The only solution is to make sure that the Ministry of Education could take their part in the program of National Transformation 2050 (TN50) so that the objectives could be achieved. And it is important to know the mental health well-being of the educators when they are using the digital technologies which they are not comfortable with, and to make sure that they could feel more suited and more acceptable in using a new technologies. The third element of the SWOT analysis is opportunities. Opportunities is when the educators could take a new challenge and they could move a step further, and they could also using suited platforms for their teaching methods. Since National Transformation 2050 TN50 is using a 21st century ways of learning a new things. Other than that, the educators of Malaysia also need to make sure that they are up to date with a new teaching methods, because National Transformation 2050 TN50 is learning methods 21st century of teaching. By doing this, it is possible to achieve all of the objectives of National Transformation TN50 by the year of 2050. The last element of the SWOT analysis is threat. National Transformation Tn50 needs to take a further action because there will be a lot of competitors in the future to manage an education system. So the organizations need to make sure that all of the objectives need to be achieved. Recommendation based on the evaluation of the SWOT analysis. For every problem, there must always be a solution, and we must pick the best options to overcome it. The best way to overcome the weakness of the program National Transformation 2050 TN50 is to make sure that the educators get enough rest, because using digital could affect their mental health and well-being. It is because the educators could feel tired and worn out because of the lack of sleep, in order for them to learn a better way of using a platform. Since this program will be used by many people of Malaysia and the next generations to come, it is important to have a good environment, or to be more specific, using a platform that is suited in a digital technology teaching methods. For example, University Technology Mara establish their own website such as student portal and YouFuture for their students, so that it is easier to detect the students' grades, and to detect all of the students' work and data of the educators and students, so that they could be easier to reach out for any problems that they are facing.
In conclusion, can be summarized that all citizens will feel the benefits of this policy, either the young people or another generation. This is because this policy aims to form a nation state that is authoritative in various aspects, and it also comes from the collaborations of the citizens and government. In the future, the young generations also will get all the facilities, technological advance, and national development that they deserve. Hence, in implementing this policy, all citizens should cooperate with the government so that the policy making process runs smoothly. For example, if any organizations that have been given responsibility by the government help programs and activities, as citizens, we should join the program and activities to support the government.